I'll make a motion to approve the director's decision, violation resume, warning letters, and an extra status letter.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Director, is there anything you'd like to address the board with?
Now, I think the only thing that we have is to set next month's meeting.
Okay.
Typically, it's gonna be on December 21st, but I think we have some conflicts, so. Just for y'all to discuss.
Jamie, that's just the only conflict, so let's speak to that now.
Okay.
Go back to the other one.
I'm out the week before
Okay.
that, so the week after is that, when Christmas and New Year's, so.
So we're good with the 21st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that all, Director?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We have one hearing, today, Murray Maples, the third, Sunrise Cafe, Bakery, 23/7/13, number South Charlotte Road, Mapleville, Lincoln County. Restaurant Mixed Drink News granted on August 18, 22, appealed by opposition. So, Michael, are the parties here?
I have Agent Latrice Ellis here. Are the parties available for the Murray Maples hearing? Can y'all please come forward? Have a seat right there. And state your name for the record.
Murray David Maples III.
Make sure to click your microphone.
Oh, sorry. Murray David Maples III.
Okay. We're all present and accounted for, Mr. Chairman, if I can proceed.
You may.
Okay, just a little bit of background. This is an appeal.
Look, who else is gonna be testifying with for you?
Latrice Ellis and John Cohen.
Okay, would you raise your right hand, please?
Yes, sir. Several others are supposed to be here, but they were told 9:15.
Yeah, that's what we thought of the team. So that's what it said.
We can take a recess if you'd like, or.
Will be better if there's some more in round.
Okay.
We'll start at 9:15.
Okay.
You're with them.
Okay.
Michael, did we get this back? We got to swear everybody in that's going to testify in this two-minute hearing. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
That's it.
Good pack about to pass out. This is an appeal from a director's decision granting a restaurant mixed-drink minimum permit. The appeal is based off opposition that we received. The opposition timely filed their appeal pursuant to ABC rules. The first witness I'd like to call on this matter is Agent Latrice Ellis. Agent Ellis, can you please come forward? Can you please state your full name for the record?
Agent Latrice Ellis,
And where are you employed, Agent Ellis?
ABC Arkansas Beverage.
Okay. In the course of your employment, did you have an opportunity to investigate an application for one Murray Maples doing business at Sunrise Cafe Bakery, 2371 3 North Sardis Road in Mapleville, Arkansas?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And can you please turn to page 3 of your exhibit packet? And what is the name indicated on the application that they had chosen to go by?
Sunrise Cafe and Bakery, LLC.
Okay. Down here where it says business name, what's the
Yes.
business name say?
Sunrise Cafe and Bakery.
Okay. And what type of application is this for? Is this for a restaurant mixed drink minimum permit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To your knowledge, does the city of Mapleville have a mixed drink ordinance allowing for restaurant mixed drink minimum permits to be issued in that area?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. Please turn to page 5 and identify what is on page 5 of the exhibit packet for us.
Description of business and entertainment activity.
Okay. If you could briefly, well, never mind, the board can see that. And just for purposes of the record, I'd move to admit ABC's exhibit pack into evidence cumulatively is ABC's exhibit 1.
Okay.
Will that be accepted?
Yes.
Thank you. During your initial application or during your initial investigation of this application, did you have a chance to communicate with Mr. Murray about this location?
Yes, I met with him and his wife.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your interaction with him during the initial application investigation. Kind of how did he have, what were his plans for this establishment?
To have a alcohol license inside the restaurant, stated that they would not be using the patio area. When we went to the outside area, there were several, it was like some trash and several pieces of balloon, like someone had a water balloon fire or something of that nature out there, and he said he didn't know that what could have went on or who could have been back there. Maybe someone, came and used the premises because they hadn't visited in over a month. And he didn't know the knowledge of what was going on back there.
During your initial application investigation, did he give you any indication of his operating hours or kind of what his business plan would be? Did he plan to operate it as a restaurant? Is that what he informed you?
Yes,
Okay. Did he let you know about what his hours of operation would be?
basically the restaurant hours. Nothing, he never said anything about late in the night hour or any type of events going on where people would be there late at night.
And since this was granted by the director, there's been a number of issues you've had to respond to. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've personally gone out there to investigate a number of calls regarding this?
Yes, I have.
One of your incident reports, you stated the owner is present and not educated on the policies and procedures of the state. He is choosing to do what he sees fit and operate at his own desires instead of being compliant with the rules and regulations. Can you explain to the board what you meant by that?
Yes, when I visited they have another location called Rudy's. I visited the Rudy's location to speak with them and they weren't there. And so, the lady that was pregnant, the cook, she called in for me. And then I waited for a little while longer because he was in meeting, so they were doing the busy, his actual business, he was busy with that. So his wife called me back, and when she called me back, I spoke with her, and then we were talking about the entertainment as far as, what is allowed at the business at both locations. And, I told her about the karaoke is not allowed, this was October 11th, and I told her that it was not allowed.
So let me interrupt. What is allowed, that would be in reference to the entertainment plan, which was approved, that we just talked about earlier.
Yes, a restaurant, that's what they, asked for, restaurant, they drink to serve,
And the entertainment,
serving of food and meals.
and the entertainment plan specifically lays out what they are and are not allowed to do, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So your November 3rd, when you responded and were doing an investigation, what was that based off of?
Noise complaints and having after hours events and parties.
Tell us a little bit about those after-hour events and parties.
On, October 29th, there is a after hours party that was, taking place in and outside the building. There were, the patrons that were there, the place had been rented out. And the patrons that were there had paid $5 for an entry fee. And they were outside and inside, having it was a drag show. And with the drag show, there was karaoke taking place on the outside. So it was a foot up at the location, and the neighbors could hear the music down the street, about a quarter mile down the highway in the residential area.
So you could hear, the music could be heard a quarter mile down the highway,
Yes, sir.
and they were both outside and on the patio
Yes, sir.
doing karaoke and drag shows.
Yes.
Were either of those activities approved on their entertainment form that we just referenced, I think on page 5?
No.
Okay. You also have in your investigation report, the owner finds the this is for the residents humorous. When the owner brought up the violations that were found during the inspection on the night of October 29th, 2022, he was very nonchalant and said more than once he did not care. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
When I did the initial application, he said that, well, I told you that you were gonna get some complaints. But he said complaints as far as the residents not wanting there to be an alcohol permit for him to have an alcohol permit. He didn't say anything about having events outside and, hosting stuff at night. Because this stuff takes place at almost 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. They are outside, having a little get together at the patio area and there's loud music playing. There was microphones, singing, dancing.
And based on the initial application, he was not even supposed to be outside, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And he didn't seem to care about these issues?
No.
And all these things that we discussed, again, they're in violation of his entertainment. Okay. We have an incident report from around about October 28th. Did you have an opportunity to visit the location around October 28th in regards to complaints you had received?
Yes.
Okay, so this is separate from the November 3rd incident. When you arrived, were you able to hear loud music upon your arrival at that location at that time too?
Yes.
Okay, so you've had more than one incident where you've arrived and you've been greeted by loud music.
Yes.
Okay, this loud music is in an area where it carries to the neighbors?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so it's very loud and it kind of creates disturbance for the surrounding neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay. On the October 28th incident, what were you there investigating?
The party that was taking place, October 29th, it was a party.
Okay. What kind of party?
It was a drag show.
Okay. Were they charging an entry fee for the drag show at that time?
Yes, $5.
Okay. In your professional opinion, do restaurants that are serving meals that are cafes and bakery generally charge cover charges to get in to eat.
No, and the way it was operating, there was like, they made fried pickles, fries, and things of that nature, but there were no heavy meals or anything like that.
And again, I'd like you to reiterate, to your knowledge, there's not actually an ordinance allowing for. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I will ask the witness. If you have any questions for Agent Ellis, you're free to ask them at this time.
Okay. So we did have discussions, I don't have any questions at this time. Maybe, let me think about it. Maybe I'll need something like.
With her?
Possibly, yes, sir. Could we go on back later if I think of some things that I would like to discuss?
Yes.
It's gonna be hard, we're not gonna be here all day, so.
Oh, no, sir.
You know, the witness is here, and you need to question the witness.
And so when we talk about, there was one drag show incident, I think we referenced it twice. Is it normal, or have you seen this in the past, where a facility would allow someone to use their facilities and then have drag shows? Or have other events where there could be occasionally an entry fee charged? Do you see that normally with an alcohol permit?
No, not at a restaurant.
So what about if there's a facility with a mixed drink restaurant? What is it, an alcohol mixed drink permit?
No.
No, it's not? Okay. And then, I think that's all I have.
Just a quick follow-up. Any facility that you would see that on to legally take place, it would have to be on the entertainment plan, correct?
Yes, it would have.
And the entertainment plan is actually sent out to local law enforcement and the mayor, local elected officials to notify them of the type of entertainment in that area, correct?
Correct.
So it is very important to ensure compliance with that, because that is how the organization has been portrayed to the general public, correct?
Correct. And I spoke with Mr. Maple and Ms. Maple on October 11th, verifying this, and they knew that they could not have this event or karaoke at either location until it was approved. And that's when they decided to submit and go ahead and put in for their entertainment package request.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just to set the record straight, this is not my wife. Her name is Deanna Reeves. She works at the company, but we're not married, and that's been referenced multiple times, so just want to make sure that's clear.
She told me she.
No, she's never done that.
No further questions for Agent Ellis. Thank you, Agent
All
Ellis.
right, thank you.
Agent Ellis, I believe, has she has to attend to her mother, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is it okay if she be excused?
That's fine.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call up the opposition. Can the opposition please step forward? And we'll call John Cohen first. Mr. Cohen, can you please come up here?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Please state your name for the record.
John Cohen, C-O-H-E-N,
Mr. Cohen, where do you live?
approximately a quarter of a mile through the woods from their establishment.
Quarter of a mile. Okay. How long have you lived there?
32 years.
32 years. You filed an opposition letter. Tell us what your opposition to this location is, please.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit, when they first came to our community, the entire community was behind them and supporting everything that they were doing as a restaurant. And as a community event center, which is what Ms. Deanna here had told me in a conversation. It quickly changed. The problems were not because of the alcohol permit. As stated, the Saline County, in the month of May of 2021, from midnight,
How is that relevant to my car?
I'm just holding a conversation to let you know what was going on prior to it, because I voiced these concerns to her way before y'all ever got an alcohol permit for
Okay,
loud noise. Every weekend in the month of May of 2021, anything up till 2 o'clock in the morning. Every weekend in the month of June of 2021, up until midnight at 1 o'clock in the morning. July of 2021, loud music up until 1 o'clock in the morning. The community complained. I complained directly to her to let her know that the police had been called by numerous citizens in the surrounding area.
Mr. Cohen, let me interject real quick, and just to clarify, you may have already stated this. During that time period, was this location under the control of Mr. Maples?
Yes.
Okay, please proceed.
So along came the alcohol permit notification. I don't know how many of you have been out to our little community. The permit was posted on their wall, on their door, on the front door. During the time that was placed on there, it is 150 feet from the center of the roadway, down on a small incline to the front door. They were not open. The restaurant was not open during the time that was there, so there was no reason for any of our community to pull down in their parking lot and happen to see the sign. So a large majority of our community are elderly, and they wouldn't have gone in the driveway to see it. And you cannot notice what it is as you're driving by at 40 miles an hour. So a lot of our community out there had no idea that there was a permit being put in place. When it made it to the community pages, a lot of the 5,000 people that were on the community pages, probably 25% were for it, 25% against it, against the loud noises again and what it was bringing to the community. You referenced the drag show. That was not a one-time incident. That happened in July, August, September, and October, where they had a weekend where they were charging $5 a person to come into it, and loud music was played all night long. August of 2021, 3:26 loud music, 10:22, 10:30, which was discussed with your agent there. It's an ongoing problem. And even if we forgot everything else that was going on before the permit was issued, that violates your ABC Good Neighbor policy right off the bat with the loud music and all this partying and everything going on. That some of the next people you're going to speak to are neighbors. There are 35 houses within 1,000 feet of that establishment. They play the music on the back patio, loud music, constantly. Every time they're
Since they've been granted an alcohol.
Since they've been granted an alcohol permit, they play the loud music and have the drag shows and so on.
Michael, what was their operation of that application?
It does not indicate, so I'm assuming they're going by what standard hours.
And if you were to look at their restaurant side of it, since July, they have not been open as a restaurant except on Friday night and Saturday night from 5 p.m. till 1 a.m. based on their Facebook pages and notifications. And you also, prior to their getting their liquor permit, I'll submit this to you, I didn't make copies. That was in June. That was that was a laws for the police reports.
What's the reference?
This is referencing this right here. This was on June 12th on a Sunday. You notice they were having a karaoke competition and serving alcohol. That was prior to their getting.
You'd like to move to have these.
That's fine. Here's the drag show showing that they're charging admission door, and that was for 18 and older.
Okay. Mr. Cohen will move to have these three documents admitted cumulatively as opposition to Exhibit 1.
Yes.
Please be accepted, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you. Do you have anything else you'd like to inform the board of?
I do not at this point.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Cohen, is it true that you've been barred from that property?
Yes, I have.
want to explain to us how that?
I would gladly, and I'll call the gentleman up that told you about it if you'd like to, because him and I have worked out our differences. I've stopped, one day they have a food pantry that's on the front porch of their business. That food pantry was put in place by the Sardis Community 4-H development. It was for the community, stocked by the Sardis Community Homemakers. I drove by one day, they were tearing the food pantry down. I pulled into the parking lot, stopped, asked the gentleman what they were doing. I said, you're tearing the food pantry down. If you're tearing it down, I need to get it, we'll place it somewhere else, because that was done provided by the 4-H. The gentleman I spoke to said, no, this belongs to Mr. Maples. He bought the building, he bought this along with it. I said, no, sir, look at the door. That says property of Sardis 4-H presented to this building way before you ever bought it. He said, well, we're tearing it down. He said, we're going to rebuild. I said, fine, thank you very much. He invited me in to have dinner. I said, no, sir, I'll never spend my money at this establishment. He said, well, come on in, let's sit down and eat. I said, no, I'll sit out here in the parking lot and talk to you all day long, but I'll never come in your business, period. Thank you very much. I left. Approximately an hour later, the Saline County Sheriff's Department pulls into my driveway and informs me that Mr. Maples has barred me from his property, that I am no longer allowed to be on the property. The Saline County Sheriff's Office, the deputy, and I laughed about it. I said, I have no problem. I explained to him my same situation. There you go, Mr. Maples. There's your story. Anything you'd like to add to it?
No.
Was I correct in what I just stated?
Not entirely.
All right. Can I hear your side of it?
It doesn't matter.
This question, that's not how it works. Do you have any additional questions?
How many, so Mr. Cohen referenced previously about social media and some other things. He is an admin on a page out there where my business is frequently slandered, talked down to, and just all around beat up pretty good. Would you agree with that statement?
I would agree with it, except for the fact that it's because of your activities out there.
But you're the admin of the page that
I am.
blocked us from the page.
I am. You do
So,
not.
guys, we're not gonna sit here and argue with each other. This is time for the board to collect information to make a decision.
I apologize. My reason for that question was that, you know, a lot of the complaints that are launched, if you go back and look at the Sardis community page, which is the page Mr. Cohen runs, you're gonna find that not only does he slander the business, but he also takes it upon himself or has other people do it to where they kind of rally together and they call in these complaints on a regular basis. One of the things I forgot about asking Ms. Ellis earlier, one of our
Questions, their testimony, you can feel free to make a statement.
okay.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Does the board have any questions, Mr. Cohen?
Mr. Coleman, do you dispute any of the stuff that he presented us with, such as the drag show?
So I've owned that building for quite a while, and we have leased it out multiple times over the years for birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, you name it. We've allowed people, you know, at no charge and sometimes at a fee, to use that facility. We've been doing that for a couple of years now. As far as the Sunday where he's talking about, this picture that's referenced here, the facility was loaned to the Karaoke World Championships, and they had the Arkansas Finals at our facility. So there was no alcohol sold. It was served, but it was all purchased by Karaoke World Finals. They did that. We simply provided a place for it to happen. As far as the drag shows, I know earlier it was said that that's not normal, but if you go look at the drag show pages on Facebook, multiple bars and restaurants around Saline County and Pulaski County have this same group come on a regular reoccurring basis. So it's not uncommon for these types of things to occur with the permit that I have. I honestly feel like I get.
But did you mention on your application that you would be having a drag show?
No, sir, I did not, but that, we do have an amended version. We did speak with Officer Ellis about everything. I do have a new version to be submitted that is more detailed.
Alright.
And we did incur a fine and we did pay that.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Thank you. I will next call is, what's your name? Go ahead and come up here. Can you please raise your right hand? I don't believe you were sworn in. Mr. Chairman, can you please swear in?
Right hand, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir. Can you please state your name for the record?
Yes, it's Pastor Eric.
Okay, and you filed an opposition letter to this permit?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What was your name again?
Aaron McClure. What's that? Sorry. Aaron McClure.
Okay, and how far is your church from this location?
I think if, we measure right about 800 feet,
800 feet? How long have you been the pastor there?
2 years.
2 years, okay. Tell us about your opposition to this location of the permit.
Well, we've noticed every time.
If you could,
Just,
you gotta make sure we get it all on the record. I'm
every
sorry.
time we're at the church on, in the evenings, or prayer meetings, or other events in fellowship hall, we're hearing loud music. I've called 911 a couple of times. And there's been a few instances where we're there and we're hearing it even inside the building. And it's just, that's kind of, that's kind of been an ongoing thing. But the last time I called 911, I think on October 29th, was on a Saturday evening.
Okay, so these problems that have persisted since they obtained their ABC permit, since the original grant?
Yes, it's probably started before the permit. Definitely since then as well.
Okay, what impact does the loud music have on you and your congregation as you are trying to operate?
Well, it's very disturbing. It's hard to concentrate on what we're doing with that going on.
And, how often does this happen?
Most of the time on the weekends. We have also heard on like Thursday nights, we're there for summer recovery, things like that.
So is it your request to this board that this permit not be granted?
Yes.
Do you have any other information you'd like to provide to the board as to why you think it should not be granted?
Well, I think, as Mr. Cohen stated, we would definitely support a restaurant, business like that. We need that. Like I said, we've only been there for about 2 years, but we come to stay, and we feel it's a great community. It's a close family atmosphere in the community, and everything that's going on at this establishment, which I would call debauchery, is completely opposed to the family unit and the community that we're trying to build. We're trying to help people, help them with problems like alcoholism and things that are going on here, completely opposed to that, counterintuitive to what we're trying to do. Also would say I made a list. We are a small church. We're a church of 70, but I've got 11 families that live in the Sardis community, all within a mile or 2 miles from that establishment. They've also signed off on this to voice their opposition. I just don't know why anybody would want to be in a community with such a business when they know the people in the community don't want that. And especially churches and church families and members are so opposed. Why would they not just move on and find somewhere where they can be, do what they want to do without opposition, because it'll never work there.
I have a quick question,
Yes,
Pastor. If this was I'm going to use the word standard restaurant that was not offering late night events, and it was more of just a normal restaurant you find in any town that served, alcohol and had a permit for it, would your church have an opposition to that, or is it more because of the the late night loud music and everything else.
That's the standard opposition. I would say we would still prefer to support a business that didn't serve alcohol.
Would you, if this was a restaurant here today that they applied and there wasn't the drag shows and all that stuff, do you think your congregation would still file the motion if it was just I hate to use the word standard restaurant, but a more traditional restaurant that didn't have to sell alcohol? Would you be appealing the decision at that point?
Yes, sir. I believe so, based on the stats that we know, the detrimental effects on families and kids because of alcohol.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before.
So for what nights do you typically? And Saturdays. So it seems to be maybe a disconnect in the data there.
No, I don't think so.
So it was a Thursday night or was it just a Friday and Saturday?
No, over the past year or so, it's probably been both. I mean, I don't know what Mr. Cohen would say to that.
Okay.
I do remember specifically Thursday night, at one point, I don't know when, so excuse me for that. But definitely.
Okay.
May I do that? Okay, sorry.
So my other question is, you've already stated that you would oppose any restaurant regardless of reason to have an alcohol permit. So that lets us know a little bit about it. But do you think if I lived in that community and not one community over, would I be more accepted and not treated as an outsider due to your previous statement?
No, I don't believe so.
You would oppose even someone that lived in your community?
Yes, just because of the detrimental effects of alcohol, on the family, especially children.
So it really has nothing to do with the events and things that have occurred. It's
Oh, yeah,
simply
It has to do with
your
that as well.
belief and how you choose to live.
It has to do with that as well. That's why they got the mockery. Because that's exactly what's going on there.
I don't think I have any further questions.
Thank you, Pastor McCord.
Thank you.
One last opposition, I think will be turned over. Ms. Jennifer Davis. You want to admit these into evidence? I'm passing out an exhibit pack. I've moved to admit as opposition's cumulative exhibit 2. Can you please state your name for the record? And make sure you can speak to the microphone.
Jennifer Davis.
Where do you live, Ms. Davis?
I live about 4 miles from the restaurant.
Okay, so is that in the same, would you consider that the same community as where we're in?
Absolutely, I'm right up the road from it. And I would like to play this and
Well, let me ask you a few questions.
Okay.
You filed a letter in opposition to this application, correct? Just briefly tell us, just briefly tell us what your opposition is to this establishment.
I wrote that letter because of the previous things that were happening. The late night music and what Pastor Aaron is talking about Thursday nights, they were having a biker night. And then they were adding another night, and they even had children's karaoke they were trying to promote. It was one thing after another, more and more noise. Several of us called 911 several times. Several of us reached out to him and mentioned. Not one time did it seem like we were ever heard or it was even cared about what we had to say.
Do you hear these noises from your house?
Absolutely. I can play it for you if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay, and this is actually, I believe this was the August drag show night. And here, you can hear it over the Bose. You're not gonna be able to hear it very well on my laptop. each person was told that you could hear the music. And I'm standing in my backyard.
4 miles away.
Yes. Well, no, I'm 4 acres, 4 acres.
Oh.
I'm sorry, did I say miles?
You said miles.
I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
let the
I did
record
not
reflect
mean
it's
miles.
4
No,
acres.
I'm like 4 houses down from that place. For me to the wall to that place, and I guarantee you it rattles their windows every Friday and Saturday night. They have an event. It Next, 2 years ago, right about the same time, he purchased that building. And our neighbors moved in 2 months before us, and they moved out like a year after. They were so settled and didn't know what to do.
Yes, ma'am. Would you like to go through your exhibit pack? Is there
Sure.
anything you'd like to point out to the board?
Well, I mean,
Pack?
it's supposed to be a restaurant, but then underneath you see Shoe Tree Hangout with all the extra stuff to make money.
So they're also going by the name Shoe Tree Hangout?
Yes, absolutely. That is on a Facebook page they have. And then this was right before, I believe they were granted their license. They had a concert, $5 cover, and bring your own beer. That's how they were getting away with it then here's that beer label that they have. And then that same sheet on posted here on Sunday, which I don't think that should matter, shouldn't be there anyway. And there was more than one back there. I've got 2 or 3 on here, 2 for sure. And then there's a post made on our Facebook page that said, this post is for those who live around the metal building next door to the Dollar General. There may not be a noise ordinance, but there is a thing called disorderly conduct. It got 40 likes and loves just in the members in our community. Not one dislike, nothing. And then I also have the proof of where I've called the last few times, and they spoke with the non-emergency number. And I also have a letter from another member, literally right across the street, 2 houses. And then here's a picture of the patio area that I took this morning. This is where everything happens. Nothing hardly ever goes on inside that home. It is all outside. I would have been for a restaurant. I was super excited when they first got there. He had several food trucks. The food was delicious. Everything was great. Then the music started and all of that. And after that, I just had enough. And yes, of course, a lot of the people in the community started getting angry and mad and saying things. It was all true. I don't know what else to say. I was just frustrated. If there was respect, it would be a totally different thing, but there is no respect when it comes to this situation.
Okay, and just to clarify, they have, based off your pictures, they are going by Shoe Tree Hangout and Sunrise Cafe and Bakery.
Yes. I mean, I heard them say that the LLC is for Sunrise Cafe and Bakery, but it's being ran as Shoe Tree Hangout.
Okay,
Because the restaurant never has anyone there during business hours, except on Friday and Saturday, you might have a handful of cars.
okay, I would just point the board towards ABC's exhibit pack, page 3, the application. They are supposed to be going by Sunrise Cafe and Bakery.
Probably, but I can't think of it at the moment.
Yes, ma'am. Members of the board, y'all have any questions? Mr. Murray, Mr. Nichols, do you have any questions?
I got one question. So when was the last time you ate at were a patron of the restaurant?
That was when they had the food trucks there.
Okay.
But then when all the food truck people started leaving, and I can't say honestly why they all left, but they all did for some reason. But that was not this summer, the summer before and into the fall.
So you haven't been a patron while it's been
Not-
inside?
No,
Okay.
not since all the disrespectful stuff has continued to happen, even after I even reached out to him and told him, and I wasn't even responding to the first time.
Okay, no, that's all the questions I've got. Thank you.
So, I don't have any questions at this point.
One last question I'm going to ask Mr. Maples. Mr. Maples, where do you live?
I live in Saline County.
Okay, where at specifically?
You want my physical address?
Do you live in this community?
No, sir, but I do own several pieces of property in that community. This is one of them.
But you don't live there?
I do not live in that small community. No, I do not.
Okay, that's all the questions I have. That's all the evidence we wish to present at this time. Mr. Maples is free to present his case as he would like to.
So we feel like we did what was asked of us. We sat down, we filled out the permits, we paid the fees. We did meet with Officer Ellis. We were awarded a permit. We have made some mistakes, I'll tell you. You know, we did get a fine. We didn't have some permits updated like we should have. When it was explained to us, we went back and made those adjustments. I believe that's how the process is designed to work. You know, we get that permit, we work, we make a mistake, we catch up, we get course corrected, whatever that happens to look like. We don't make those mistakes again. I think it's pretty, whenever you look at some of the evidence that they presented, you know, not only is it's a verbal attack on the business because we don't live there in that same community. You know, you can see on their Facebook page that they gave to you where they put on there, this is how you file a complaint against them. This is how you make it stick. You know, the pastor said flat out, look, it doesn't matter who it is, we don't want it to be there. And we've spent a lot of money in that community. We do a lot of give back in that community, but I feel like we do it the right way. We don't go out there and brag about it. I don't go post on a Facebook page, you know, all the things that we do in those communities, because we operate businesses in multiple communities. We don't go out there and brag about it. That's not why you're supposed to give. You're supposed to give from the heart, and you know what you did. We may have a different conversation today if we bragged more on the things that we do that people don't know about. One of the questions you had asked a while ago, all the food trucks, to her point, those were all my food trucks. I owned all of them. That's why they were there. It was my property, my food trucks. During COVID and some other things, it was profitable to sell those food trucks and sell those businesses off so someone else can benefit from it. Some of them we didn't even charge, we actually gave them to people because they were it was gonna benefit them more. So the reason the Shoe Tree Hangout is there, that's what we nicknamed the patio area and the food truck area. That's why it's there. The inside of the building has always been the Sunrise Cafe. When we opened that Sunrise, the miner dive failed, and I went in there to buy all of her equipment and stuff. I listened to her story about what happened and how it happened, and we partnered up. Another person and I from that community partnered up, and that's where the Sunrise Cafe name came from, and that's what inside of the building was built for. Some things happened, and that partnership dissolved. So since then, we've looked to find what is that business, what's it really gonna be? You know, what's it gonna grow into? We haven't figured that piece of it out yet, but we do know that when we have opposition as heavy as we have from the community, that there's gonna be complaints. That's what AJ Ellis referred to when she spoke earlier. Because I told her when we first got the permit, I said, we've had issues in this community in the past. I expect it to continue. That's why we're here today. And there's only about 5 or 6 people in the community. If you go back and you reference all these things, you're gonna find that a multitude of that comes from less than 6 people in that community. And they get everybody riled up, and then they get a daisy chain started. I'll call a complaint today if you'll do one tomorrow. We had complaints on days we weren't even there. So, and then I may have, found it slightly comical to get a noise complaint on a day when there's nobody there. I mean, but we've not done anything disrespectful in that community. We do understand that one of the deacons from one of their churches came to my insurance office to speak to me about their concerns in the community. And one of the things that they brought to my attention was that some of the to-do people, as how it was explained to me, their children came out as they might be bi or gay. And they think that my liquor permit in that drag show somehow influenced that child that's 13 or 14 years old that I've never met and that they've never been to my facility. It affects them. I think it's more of a lash out, and I've become the person and the business that is the outsider that the lash out comes to. So,
When did you initially start operating under this permit? What would you say your first date was?
We got it June.
We got the permit. It was 2 months after we had the permit before we even opened up.
Yeah, we've only been open on the weekends.
Yeah, August, and we've probably been opened up, and we haven't opened up since we learned about this hearing. I closed it down again. because I didn't want anything else to be able to come before the board. So I just simply closed it down. So it hurt people in their community because they're not getting hours. They're not getting their paychecks because,
But you applied for the permit, under one business plan.
correct.
But you immediately switched that business plan according to what I understand.
I
It
didn't,
didn't, over time, over a year or two, eventually morph into this weekend late night thing here.
well,
It
we,
sounds like you immediately went from cafe and bakery and having drinks while you're having a meal.
no, we,
Within 4 to 6, maybe 8 weeks at most, it's only late night, 1 to 2 a.m. drag shows, loud music.
We didn't have the
Patios.
revenue to have it open during the week.
we
so
did have-
Only did Friday and Saturday.
we did have it open. We tried opening for breakfast and for lunch. And we would have 1 to 2 people come in and eat. You can't pay somebody two people $12 an hour apiece to not generate any revenue. We did multiple Facebook posts. We did multiple reach outs for, hey, here we are. We did flyers. We put them at the gas stations. We even solicited some of the local businesses. Hey, we're here for breakfast and lunch.
But do you own another restaurant?
I do.
Did you go into it thinking you could make a profit on 2 days a week?
We didn't run into the same opposition. We were able
How
to.
many days a week is? Okay. Did you think that this one was gonna do great at 2 days a week?
At 2 days a week, it supports itself. At 5 days a week, it runs a deficit.
You said you had 2 patrons come in and eat. So it's supporting itself as a cafe and a restaurant and a bakery.
It did, I'm sorry, I think maybe I'm confused. So we opened and we were trying to do the breakfast and lunch. We weren't getting enough traction. There wasn't enough people coming in to support the payroll and the bills. So
But you never initially were gonna be open 5 days a week or 6 days a week. or something.
we were initially gonna be open 5 days a week. That was the plan. But how many weeks in a row do you run where you keep reaching into your front pocket, paying the payroll and the bills until you realize that you have to do something different so that it's self-supported?
And you're big on the community that you operate in, correct?
Yes, sir.
Or what you say? How many of the community members are attending these drag shows?
Several. There's even where we live stream them, we would have 20 plus people
Well, I mean,
watching.
how many are entering your establishment from that community?
Oh, I couldn't tell you the number.
Like it's
I know
half.
we would have 30 to 40 people would show up at an event like that. And then that's 30, 40 people that are eating and they're drinking and they're, having a good time. And that allows money for payroll, bills, and other things that have to be taken care of from a business standpoint. So the big reason for events drive revenue. Revenue is how you keep the business open.
So I understand that, but that was not initially on the permit.
It was not.
Do you think we would, the director would have issued this probably without a hearing? If your application stated this was, we're gonna have drag shows and karaoke and we're gonna be open to the clock.
We're not
I think it
open.
was a little misleading calling it Sunrise Cafe and Bakery and wind up where you are. So things have changed immediately. This board does not control anything but the liquor license.
Okay,
It doesn't control what you do with your building, but
correct.
we do control that. And it seems like there was a little trickery here in how the application was issued, or things have changed. And that's why we're having this hearing.
The things definitely have changed. Again, when it was open, and it just simply wasn't generating the revenue it needed to generate. So when you go back and look at other business models, they do have karaoke, they do have pool tables or shuffleboard tables, things like that are a draw or bring additional people into the business.
But it's generally that's stated on our application. That's not the case here. That's why we're here.
Based on everything that you obviously heard in this hearing today, and it sounds like you've heard from the community either in person or on Facebook or phone calls, is it your intention to continue, if granted, would you, with your knowing what the community around you is saying, Would you be wanting to continue to operate drag shows and events that go until 1 o'clock in the morning? Is that part of your amended plan?
The ABC allows us to be open until 1 o'clock. So I mean, we're within the parameters that you guys set.
Right, but it's within your
Would we
plan.
do events? Yes, I would like to continue to do events. If you guys continue to allow me that liquor permit, we'll continue to sell liquor and we'll continue to sell food and, you know, we're trying to be more mindful, you know, of the community. I mean, we're not there to offend anyone. We're there to give people jobs and to try to make a few dollars for ourselves.
All right, well, in this application, is there not a spot?
If they don't indicate something different in their entertainment plan, it's gonna be whatever the state hours are that are allowed.
Okay.
Was the outdoor patio on the initial application?
It's my understanding that was not originally part of the permitted premise, and they have since then requested to expand it out to the outdoor patio.
So that,
But that hasn't been voted on. It got turned in too late for your last meeting. So we got pushed out 45 or 60 days.
was the patio and cover and all that already there, or if you built it previously?
No, sir, it's been there the whole time.
The only thing we were told to do was enclose, yes, put the fence up, the 4-foot fence.
If you'll remember from Agent Ellis's testimony, she was actually informed during the initial application investigation about to her point very quickly after the it's now being requested to be used.
Well, Agent Ellis and I, we did speak about the patio. And that was one of the things when we talked about it was we can't use it right now because it's not ready. It has to have a 4-foot barrier. It has to have signs. It has to have all these things. So the comment was made that at a future date, we would go back and add that when it's ready, which is what we attempted to do, but it's still in similar to you know, it's in process. It's been turned in. We're just simply waiting.
You've been using in between times.
We did use it for the drag show, yes, but it has not been used outside of that. And the drag show is not, they don't karaoke, they lip sync. They don't actually sing those songs, so I'm not sure how that would be covered under the music for karaoke. So I'm not sure how that's really kind of a blurred line for me, because to me, music would be karaoke or a band or anything, but I think your definition may be a little more stringent.
Mention something else that troubled me, that when you applied for the permit, you applied knowing that it was gonna be more or less a work in progress. You were gonna mess up and we were gonna fix it.
Well, I think that's human
Is
nature.
that really,
Well, I think that's human nature, though. We learn as we go.
our book's not full of regulations on human nature. It's full of regulations that the state of Arkansas said, you know, in front of us. I think very few of the permitting processes are supposed to be a we'll mess up, y'all fix it type process. I think that's the wrong way to go about it. It troubles me if that is your mindset, that how are you gonna mess up in the future and then ask for forgiveness? If that is truly your mindset about this permit handed to you.
No, I wouldn't say that's a mindset about how the permit was handed to me.
But you said you felt like that's the way all permitting processes were done. You mess up and then we fix it.
Well, maybe that's not the correct way. Maybe it's a verbiage issue. So what I was trying to say was the reason there's regulatory compliance in place is because mistakes are made. I assume you guys have fined several people that have liquor permits. And that was my reference is, you know, probably almost everyone that had the permit has probably been at some point done something outside of that law book that you have, and they were course correct. They were told don't do it, paid their fine if there was one, and they improved their behavior and continued. That was my reference. It wasn't that I'm just out there doing things wrong and hoping not to get caught, or, well, when they catch me, I'll pay the fine. That wasn't my intention at all. If that's how it was perceived, I apologize.
Do you currently allow alcohol from inside your establishment to go out to the patio?
We did, and we got in trouble for that, yes, sir. That was after the barrier was put up, and we had turned in the form, it just hadn't been voted on yet.
We did not realize because, and I've made numerous phone calls asking questions to the office and to the lawyers as far as procedures and how to go about it. We did not realize that once we turned this in, until she came out this last time, that you have to see this and approve this before we can.
They do operate other establishments that sell alcohol.
They didn't do it with Ruby's either.
How many employees do you have currently working for you at this establishment?
At the cafe, two,
Two. How many cooks do you have?
one.
So you have one cook that maintained and is able to serve this full menu that you've submitted with your application?
Correct.
I have no questions. I would just like to be allowed to make a small closing.
Okay.
Do you have any other statements you'd like to make or witnesses you'd like to call at this time?
No, sir.
Lobby, I go ahead and closing.
Sure.
Okay. As this board is aware, we are here on a de novo appeal based off of opposition. Our request today that this permit be denied. We have two reasons for requesting that denial. The first one being that we do not believe this permit is in the public convenience or advantage under Arkansas or ABC Rule 1.21. Specifically, we believe the location, the suitability of the location proposed outlet does not fit this community. Be the type of establishment they were looking for or that they want. Also, if you look at some of the pictures that one of the oppositions created, the building itself does not seem to be set up playing music outside. Unless you're 3 miles from civilization, you're going to have sound issues. The building is just not set up to do what they're trying to do. So I believe that's also an issue to take into concern regarding the public convenience advantage. Also, potential impact on proposed outlet on churches and schools. We've heard from a church member today, it's community, and a number of his congregation who live in the area are, they object to it and they're in opposition. Also, another factor to take into account is opposition from adjacent property owners, or from a number of adjacent property owners who have testified regarding issues they've had. Not just one or two issues, issues that have seemed to persist from the beginning of the summer to now. If these issues were going to fix themselves, it seems like they would have done that. Because this is not, based off the testimony we've heard, the first time these issues have been brought to light. So that's the first reason we don't believe this is in the public convenience and advantage pursuant to Rule 1.21. The next reason we believe that this permit should be denied is that technically this permit cannot be issued in this area pursuant to Arkansas Code Annotated 3-9-203. Arkansas Code Annotated 3-9-203 is a statute that provides for where restaurant mixed drink permits can be issued. Pursuant to this statute, they can only be issued in locations which have passed a liquor by the drink ordinance or by a vote of the people have allowed on-premise liquor sales. This location does not have either of those. As such, this permit would be illegal to issue at this location. It can legally not be issued at all. For those two reasons, this application be denied.
I just have a question. He just said that it could not be issued based on the statute of ABC. How did I get it? How was it approved if it's?
Well, it was approved as a restaurant, not. I think that's a big reason we're here right now.
I was just curious. Maybe it's just, I didn't understand because he was saying that the statute simply wouldn't allow a liquor mixed drink restaurant permit in that area.
That's what we're asking for it to be denied.
But it was already issued, so it had to be revoked, correct?
It is de novo appeal from the grant of it. The appeal was done timely, so we are still here on the initial application.
So, Michael, this,
Based on the bill.
Yes, based on the time of appeal filed by opposition.
Michael, just for a point of clarification, Article 3-9-203, if a Chili's restaurant was trying to establish in that spot and applied for a full mixed drink permit, this would apply to them as well.
It would apply to everywhere. There's actually a number of cities in the state who don't have them. Not one restaurant mixed drink in the city.
So if the applicant wanted to have a liquor permit, they'd have to go through the private club team and not this application.
Yes, sir.
That was submitted. And if this application is denied, does that still grant them the ability to apply for a private club?
They can apply for a different license.
Okay. But that would also have the feedback of the community and everything else.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted that for clarification in that order.
Okay, any other questions? Not the chair, I'll entertain the motion.
I spoke about us, and I can go in. Mr. Chairman, in regards to the applicant, Murray Maples III, for the Sunrise Cafe and Bakery located at 23713 on Sardis Road. Midstream, granted on August 18, 2022. I make a motion that we overturn the director's decision on granting this applicant, and specifically related to Article 3-9-203, as well as public feedback that we've gotten in regard to the application.
Rule 1.21.
That,
On public convenience and advantage.
all right.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for being here today. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah. Next time we get carpool.
Yeah.
I got a big gator.
You can, you got a driver.
You can
I have a friend up there. You got a good there.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I know, there was a delay. It's on the. It's not happening, what really wants to.
Oh my God, that snow shut down all of our trucks and all. When it snows like that, then it just takes several days for it to dry out. And this country. Yeah.
We gotta get them a
The
different
cities are
polish.
more,
Right.
Hollywood.
Sir?